Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because they're a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against.
So both leftist Twitter and some parts of right Twitter were lit up over this clip as it came out last night. Two leftists there approached AOC at, it looks like a town hall meeting where she was talking about issues not related to the war in Ukraine, about her choice to vote for Ukraine funding and be generally silent and uncritical, as most of the elected left has been, about this conflict. The protester said, none of this matters. We will have no neighbors if there is in fact a nuclear war, putting a pretty fine point on the conversation that's been happening here on this show.
Absolutely.
And in some parts of the media, but very much not in Congress.
Yeah, they were making points we ourselves have made. They were making them with more visceral anger, I think,
Yeah.
But I understand why. Look, it's just a fact. It's an undeniable fact that most political figures in both parties are supporting the whatever it takes attitude that the Biden administration has toward Ukraine. There is some opposition among Republican members of the House, and there's almost no opposition, or not vocal, certainly not vocal there, because there is vocal opposition. Again, it's not, I won't say it's most Republicans because it's not, but it is mostly Republicans.
Right.
Virtually only Republicans. I don't know why. Then we're forced to speculate, and I wonder how she answered that question. We don't have any footage of that.
If you keep watching a little bit, she basically tells him that if he waits around, she'll address it later, but not right now. And they keep pressing that this is urgent. Why can't you talk about it now? And she says to them, well, because you're being rude. You're being rude to everybody else who's here. And I don't know the full context of how this meeting was going, or if other people in the room were in fact bothered by this interjection. If I had been in the room, I would have happily ceded my time or whatever line there was to ask questions or whatever, because this is, I do think, a really pressing issue. And I think you're seeing that kind of visceral approach in part because folks have been ignored trying to press this issue with progressives in the House and in the Senate for a while.
It would seem like a no-brainer for them to be more vocally against this. They have no, obviously AOC, the squad members, etc., Bernie Sanders, they have no problem with criticizing the Biden administration. They criticize them.
They used to not. They used to not, but it seemed like there was a weird secret handshake that went down at some point in 2020. Look, AOC used to be a person who said, I would rather be a one-term congressperson than to forsake my values. I'm paraphrasing here, obviously. Yeah. But when she was recruited to run, she was recruited with the stated purpose of having an adversarial relationship to the Democratic Party. She herself said at some point during the 2020 primary season that in any sane country, she and Joe Biden would not be in the same party. And yet what you're seeing is a lot of hesitation to criticize Joe Biden. You saw this with Bernie Sanders as well, starting during the primary where they were actual contenders against each other, saying Joe Biden is my friend. I think he'll be a good president. I think he's a good guy. Yeah. And on this particular issue, some people on the left, even those who really were very fond of Bernie Sanders, have noted him as being insufficiently strong on this particular issue. And right now, he's been completely silent. Silent.
Right. And I can more understand. Back during the campaign, trying to maintain a collegial relationship with Biden from a Bernie perspective. I mean, the Ukraine issue was not on the table then, but we're not in the middle of a presidential campaign. It's not a binary choice between Biden and Trump, or anything you say to undermine Biden will cause Trump to be the next president. We're not in that phase right now. So the idea that, and this is a very important and key issue for the left and for libertarians and for certain elements of the new right, and there's just silence.
Especially
deafening silence.
Both of those protesters brought up Tulsi Gabbard leaving the Democratic Party.
Yes.
And if that makes folks uncomfortable, if people are irritated at the idea that Tulsi Gabbard is being held up as better on this issue and perhaps other issues than what are supposed to be our best and brightest in the squad, that's not on Tulsi, that's on the squad. And at a certain point, if someone that you don't like for whatever reason is making you look bad, that's an indictment of your own politics, not a reason to come up with bad faith criticisms of Tulsi Gabbard. Because on this issue, she has managed to get to the left of what is supposed to be the leftmost vanguard and the most principled politicians that the left movement, the Bernie movement, has in Congress. And that is very disappointing. And that is why you're going to start seeing outbursts like this. And I think hopefully see candidates that actually run, that capture this kind of energy that I think are more representative of where the bulk of the left is on this issue.
What I suspect the issue is here for AOC is a kind of, she's been sort of lightly culturally captured by elite media. The glowing profiles, the kind of elevation to status as a fashion icon means you have a lot of pressure to adopt or signal solidarity with elite cultural values, of which it is clear, putting the Ukraine flag, tattooing it to your body is really, honestly, that's the level of support with all the endless celebrities who are doing photo ops with Zelensky. That's a kind of pressure. Yeah. And I suspect that's why there's relative silence.
Yeah, and by the way, it's almost impossible to do any kind of interviews, to the extent that she wants a more polite kind of questioning.
Sure.
All those of us in left media, unless you are in one of the parts of left media that frankly doesn't ask very tough questions, that doesn't really do anything in the way of investigatory questioning with these people, you cannot get an airing. You cannot get a meeting. And when people like
we would ask her politely.
I mean, of course, I'm a teddy bear. But the point is, it's not really about tone. It's about the substance. They know better than to open themselves up to the kind of questioning about their strategy here. And you saw moments like Max Blumenthal confronting Cori Bush outside of Congress when they were out there for the eviction moratorium, very politely asking questions. At one point, confronting Ro Khanna on the street, because again, the only way you can get to these people is to go up to them in Congress, and basically being Red Scared told that he was a Russian Putin puppet propagandist, and Cori Bush, her team, basically encircled her and implied that Blumenthal was somehow being harassing by asking the kind of questions that people want to know. So, I understand that it might be taxing to be shouted at a meeting, but that's what happens when you don't open yourself up to the fourth estate.
Yeah. Well, AOC is welcome to come on Rising, and we can have a polite conversation. There's no shouting. If she would do that, that would be fantastic.
It would be my pleasure.
And we'll have more Rising right after this.